My very first question is this. You guys are all rising 7th graders, right? Yep. Okay.
Yes.
How many kids here have actually ever seen a bullying situation? Raise your hand. Nice and high, it's really important to me. Okay, good, that's great. You guys are really typical. That is a very typical number for rising 7th graders, okay? If I had come to you guys and saw you guys in the 4th grade, less than half of you guys would have your hand up. By the 5th grade, it would be half. Guess what? If I came back and saw you at the end of the 8th grade and we were all sitting here and I actually said to you guys, how many kids here have actually seen a bullying situation? It would be 100%. So by the time you guys finish your 8th grade, we know for a fact 100% of you kids will have at least witnessed it, okay? The sad part about that is that we know for a fact 1 out of 3 kids will be the victim of a bully. Sometime in their school career, okay, 1 out of 3 kids will be the victim of a bully. And we know for a fact that it peaks in the 8th grade. Real bullying starts in the 4th grade. Wait a minute, can you be a little kid and bully? Sure. If you're a little kid, you can bully, but it's not typical bullying. Little kids bully, when you go out here, I saw there's real little kids out here, right? When you see little kids and they bully, they only bully one of 2 ways. They bully over possessions or they bully over territory. Kind of sounds like the United States government, doesn't it? They bully over possessions or territory. Possessions are this: give me the ball. Territory is this: I want to be first in line. And if I'm not, I'll push you to get first in line. Okay? But we always say real bullying starts in the 4th grade. The reason we say the 4th grade is simple. By the time you reach the 4th grade, your brain is developed enough and your personality is developed enough to know that the words you use and the actions you take affect other kids. So simply by the time you're in the 4th grade, if you say to some kid, you suck in baseball, we're not going to let you play, you know you're hurting his feelings. If a girl says to another girl, that shirt looks stupid on you, you know you're hurting her feelings. You can't say to the principal or your teacher, I was only kidding. I was just joking around. No. By the time you're in the 4th grade, your words have meaning, okay? So you guys are well beyond that. You guys catch on. All right, so let me ask real quick. The kids who actually said they saw a bullying situation, put your hand up one more time. Okay, can you tell me what you saw? Real quick, what did you see? You had your hand up. I'll talk to you. What did you see?
Okay, this little kid was being bullied by the older boys.
Oh, sorry, a bigger kid, what was he doing?
I think they were crowding around him and trying to call him names.
So a bigger kid was calling a little kid names, and you called that bullying. Okay, anyone different?
Well, there were some kids that were just harassing some kids.
So were they older than the kid?
Nope,
Same grade, but there were a bunch of them calling him fat, so kind of ganging up. Okay, anyone different?
they were singing on my bus.
No, I don't want to hear a story. Just tell me real quick.
So there were some kids making fun of my friend and
On a bus.
yes, and
Were they older?
yeah, they were.
Okay, good. All right, that's interesting. All right? Because I want to define what really bullying is, just so you'll know. Okay? Whose head is that? Oh, this is my water thing. Oh, my bad. Okay. I got to tell you something. I'm not getting any smarter as I get older. I got to tell you that, you know? The only thing I'm afraid of in life, well, there's a few things. But one of the things I'm afraid of in life is that technology goes wrong on me because I'm old. Okay. So let me tell you something. In order for us to call something bullying, 3 things have to be in place. Not 1, not 2, but 3. Number 1, the event has to be on purpose. I have to purposely, can I borrow you for a second? Yeah, real quick. In other words, for on purpose is I see him and I push him. Very, very simple, okay? Now, let's say we're walking down the street, I push him and never see him again. That's not bullying. Bullying has to be this. I push him. The next time I see him, I push him again. And the third time I see him, I push him again. So it has to be repeated. There has to be that sense that every time I see this guy, I'm going to push him or beat him up. Okay? So we have three things. What's your name, man?
Rowan.
What is it?
Rowan. R-O-N.
Rowan. All right, do you have a lawyer?
No.
Good.
I might
Okay.
get one.
You might need
Most
one.
likely.
Okay. So the three things are this. On purpose, has to happen over and over again. And the third and the most important thing when we're talking about bullying, it has to be an abuse of power. If there's no abuse of power, it's not bullying. Look at the two of us. I am older than him, I'm fatter than him, I'm stronger than him, okay? And if we had a fight, I would just WWE him, sit on him, and crush him, okay? And if I didn't have a heart attack, I would win every fight we have. Now, 2 years from now, I know he's going to be able to kick my butt. That's why I can say that now. Okay, good job. Okay, so did everyone get that? That's the big thing. That abuse of power is the most important thing, okay? Like, how many times do you think it has to happen for us to call it bullying? I said it has to be repeated. So how many times do you think it has to happen? You say 3? Anyone say less than 3? Okay, here's what I say. If it happens once, but I say I'm going to do it again, that's bullying. If I push him and then I say the next time I see you, I'm going to push him again, you again, I have created tension and fear in this guy, okay? But we have to understand this idea of power, okay? It can be real or imagined, but you have something another kid doesn't have. But power comes in many, many different forms. For me and Rowan, it was simple. I'm bigger and stronger than him. But for 7th grade kids in Rentham, what are some of the things that give kids power over other kids? Boys and girls. Give me one. Say what? Sure. Kids that have more money have more power. Because if you have more power, more money, you get nicer stuff. And people are basically jealous of you. So that is absolutely positively a good one. Money. Anyone else? Go ahead, in the blue shirt. What? Age? Yeah, that definitely counts. Good. Give me one. Red. What makes you popular? What makes a 7th grade boy really popular? Bingo. And let me tell you something, that applies for boys and girls, especially in a town like, I live in Needham. It applies in Needham, and it definitely applies in Rentham. If you are good in sports, you've got power. You get away with things. Imagine, I know you kids, some of you kids are really good at sports. Imagine every tryout you go to, and you never have to worry about making the team, because you're that good. How about your buddy who's not quite that good, and he's on the cusp, and we don't know if he's going to make the A team or the B team? Do you think he feels bad when he makes the B team? You know, unfortunately, the way that whole game thing works is the 8 kids practice together, their games are at different times, and they kind of lose friendships with the kids that aren't on the same team. Hey, girls, I know it works the same way with you. Matter of fact, I know a high school, and I won't mention its name, but they win the lacrosse championship almost every single year. And you know why they win? They win because the high school lacrosse coach is also the 7th grade phys ed coach. She's the phys ed teacher in the school. And every year she does this. Come to my practice this afternoon. No. Come to my practice this afternoon. Yeah. Look at the look on their face, though. Right away, I said yes to these two, big smiles. Said no to her, head went down. This poor kid, don't even know her, but she was there like this, am I going to get picked? Am I going to get picked? And it's an incredible thing. So you bet your life, being good at sports is a tremendous, tremendous power. Anything else?
Size restraint.
You got that one, yeah, we did that with him. Anyone else? Anyone different? Well, we got that one when we got size and strength. Well, no one said one, and I know you're all thinking about. Go ahead.
Intelligence.
Yeah. If you're smart. Boy, if you're smart, you have it easy in life. You have power. I go to a lot of 4th grade, 5th grade. Kids who still have recess, big sign on the door. You cannot go out to recess until all your work is done. What if you're not very smart? What if every time the teacher says that, you go, oh my God, I can't do number 4. And the smart kids are walking by going out to play recess and they say to you, can you help me with number 4? And the kid who acts like a bully, what does he say? Do it yourself, I'm out of here. The kid who doesn't act like a bully, what does he say? Sure, I'll help you, you know. I just want to show you, there's one that you guys didn't get, and I'm not surprised, because you're too nice at kids. Kids that are more popular, more charming, size and age, money, athleticism, school status. One that's not up there, and I use it all the time, and I'm not surprised you get it, if you're good looking. Like me, I was like really handsome when I was younger. You didn't tell me they were going to be mean, you know. If you're good looking, you got it made in America. You guys know that. If you're good looking, the other thing is if you speak English better than other kids. If you have a command of the English language. Because one of the things about if you're really good at English, one of the things that sometimes goes along with that is a sense of humor. Kids who have a sense of humor are very, very powerful kids. And of course, they can use it to hurt other kids' feelings or things like that. But those are what we talk about when we talk about kids that have power. Okay? Everyone get that? Okay? So, I mean, so you kids know who the kids are that have power. How do they use that power is what we determine. We're going to talk about the way bullies use it today. Just so you'll know, there are 4 ways that kids can bully other kids. Okay? Now, I told you guys you were wicked normal when I asked you about how many kids had actually seen bullying. Let me ask you about this. These are the 4 types of bullying. Physical, verbal, relational, and cyberbullying. Very simple, right? Everyone knows that? I'm not teaching you anything there. Okay, let's take out cyberbullying. Keep that away from you. Let's not talk about that for now. Here's what I want to ask you. How many kids here, I want you to vote. I want you to vote for either physical bullying, verbal bullying, or relational bullying. How many kids here think physical bullying is the worst kind? Raise your hand. Okay. Okay, good. How many think verbal? Good. How many think relational? Okay. How many Boston Democrats and voted twice? Good. Okay. Now, can I tell you something? You guys are so wicked normal, it's unbelievable. If I came to you guys when you're in the 4th grade, many hands would be up for physical. Okay? The ones that had physical were very, very few, and that's typical. 6th and 7th grade, by the time you get to 6th and 7th grade, absolutely positively, kids overwhelmingly vote verbal. If I come back and see you guys in the 8th grade or in high school, you would start saying relational. Okay? How many, if I let them change their vote to cyberbullying, would do that? Not that many? Good. That's pretty typical too. At your age, verbal bullying is the worst. Okay? And it's for a very simple reason, just because you guys are starting to make more decisions about yourself, about what you wear, your style, the music you listen to, so you kind of open yourself to more criticism. Simple as that. No big deal. Okay? If I brought your parents in here, your parents would say physical bullying. Anyone know why? Because sticks and stones will break their bones, but names will never hurt them. Parents still think that way, unfortunately. All right? You know, and I won't pick on any teachers today, but if I asked teachers this, I used to bet kids $1 that I would get it right, and I would always point to relational. Teachers always say relational bullying is the worst. And oh, by the way, as you get older, the worst thing in life is to be excluded, to be left out, to be the kid who's not invited to get into the minivan, the kid who's not invited to go to the mall on a Friday night. Worst thing that can happen to a kid. One of the big tricks that you see bullies do, of course, is that whole idea where kids will be sitting at a table, and some poor schmuck of a kid will walk over, put their books down and their lunch down, sit down, and the other kids get up and walk away. Have you all seen that happen? Yeah. It's one of the worst things that you can do to a kid. You know, really try to embarrass them because everyone gets to see what's happening and stuff like that. Okay? So those are kind of, that's what we're talking when we talk about types of bullying. Just so you know, as I said, 1 out of 3, so 30% of the kids have been targeted. It's actually been the fact in virtually every single school shooting, since 1992, most of school shootings are involved around bullying. It is not the bully who is the shooter, it is the kid who is bullied, okay? We know for a fact that over 160,000 kids on a daily basis do not go to school because they're being bullied. And what happens to these kids? I'll talk about that in a second. But I want to talk to you a little bit about bullies. What kids are like that act like bullies. Number one thing is they have to dominate other people. By the word dominate there, I use it very simply. They have to get their own way. Think about the kids you know. Now, you guys are all 7th graders, so you're not going to bed at 7 o'clock at night. So you go out on a Friday night or a Saturday night, and one mother drives you to somebody's house, and somebody else picks you up. Do you have one kid who always decides what movie you're going to watch? One kid who always says, this is the movie we're going to watch, this is the mall we're going to go to, this is the restaurant we're going to eat at. That kid always has to get their way. Those are bullying traits. Do you know a kid that when you go out to the playground, he's the kid who says, no, we're playing football today. If you don't like it, lump it. See the kid that picks the sides. And is he also, when he picks the sides, that sometimes he puts him and the second best kid on his team with him so that there's no way they can't lose? Those two best players together are going to beat the rest of the kids? You know? Is he the kid, if we have 11 kids instead of 10, he just says to some kid, get out of here, you're not playing today? Those are kids who bully. Okay? Second thing we know about kids that bully is they do things for their own self-gain. They do things only in their own self-interest. They do not care about your thoughts. They don't care about what you think about. And the best story I saw about that, I was working in a school system, pretty much like you guys. Saturday mornings, tons of soccer games all going on in the same field, right? Do you guys all have that? Like 6 or 7 games going on at once? Sure. In one particular game, there was a loud scream, play stopped. Everyone started looking over. There was a little boy laying on the ground. So all the other games stopped all around. What happened, what happened, what happened? Typical kids buzz. And they said, Frankie got hurt. And all the kids knew Frankie. He'd been in this town for many years. And the next thing you know, an ambulance comes, and they take Frankie off. So on Monday morning, Frankie shows up for school, and he has a huge cast on his arm. Broke his arm, you know. How many kids here have ever signed a cast? When a kid, yeah, bingo. So what happened basically was the same thing. Everyone said to Frankie, can I sign your cast? They also said to Frankie, do you need any help? Do you want me to take notes for you? Can I carry your books for you? Most of the kids were really nice. But there was one particular kid, his name was Charlie. Charlie was not a nice kid. Oh, is there a Charlie here? Okay, Charlie, I'm not talking about you, just so you know. But what happened in Charlie's case, Charlie goes up to Frankie and he says, can I sign your cast? And Frankie says, yeah, sure. And in about 2 seconds, Charlie whips out this huge magic marker, and in the biggest letters possible, he writes Charlie all across his arm and underlines it twice. Blocks out all the other names. So for the next 4 weeks, when Frankie's walking down the hallway, all everyone can see is what? Charlie. That's a kid who doesn't care about anyone else. When I heard that story, I said to the principal, we need to work on Charlie here. We got to get some work out of Charlie. One of the things they know, we know that they're sneaky. They do things when adults aren't watching. You know, you never see, it doesn't happen in the middle of the classroom when the teacher's teaching. It happens on buses, it happens in bathrooms, it happens in cafeterias. The kid who's the bully, his head is on a swivel, he's making sure adults aren't watching, that's when he goes after a kid. Other thing about, just so we'll know, I don't want to go through all of them because I won't have time, but bullies have to be the center of attention. The whole world has to revolve around them, okay? We also know they're sneaky and we know they lie. Kids who bully will lie. They'll lie to get out of it. Just so you know, when bullies get caught, and when I do this program with teachers, I always make sure teachers understand this. When bullies get caught, the very first thing they do is lie. Deny it. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. You finally say, I saw you do it. Oh, you mean when I slapped him in the back of the head? Yeah. Oh, I didn't know you were talking about that. We were just playing. Number 2, they trivialize it. We was just playing. That's the way we play. So the teacher says, let me get this straight. the way you play is you slap him in the back of the head as high as you can, and he puts up with it? Yeah. This is what bullies do, though. They try to get away with it. Number 3, when that doesn't work, they'll actually look at the teacher and say, well, he started it. So in other words, stand up for a second. That's like me looking at the teacher and saying, he started it. Right? That's why I slapped him in the head. Well, what do you mean he started it? He knocked my pencil on the ground. Thanks. You know? That's always what they try to do. And when that doesn't work, you know what they do? They blame the teacher. When lying doesn't work, making a joke out of it doesn't work, blaming the victim doesn't work, they blame the teacher. They actually look at the teacher. Please don't stare at any kids when I say this, because I've been in schools where they stare at particular kids. And we have kids who will look at the teacher and say, you always take their side. You never believe me. I'm always the guy that's wrong. Well, in bullying cases, yeah, you know. If you're a kid who acts like a bully, and don't try to get out of it. And then they'll say, I'm going to call my mother, and she'll come up here and straighten you out. And when all of that fails, the bully count goes down to their last approach, and it's simply this. I know you don't believe me because you don't like me. You always take the other kid's side. But if you don't believe me, ask my friends. They'll tell you I didn't do it. Anyone know that one? Anyone seen that one? Yeah. All right. Why do bullies' friends stick up for them? Anyone have an idea on that? Over there in the gray. Sure. They don't want to be the victim. And as long as that guy's going after somebody else, he's not going to bother me. Okay? Very good. All right? Okay. So I just want to make sure we touched on all those things, right? And now I want to move on to, I'm going to actually make sure you guys get this. This is a poem about a kid that was bullied. And now I want to talk about the next part of this. Kids that get bullied. What is it that makes a kid a bully? I mean, a victim. What is it that makes a kid susceptible? What is it about that kid? Any ideas? Red soccer shirt. Nice and loud.
Their feelings are hurt repetitively.
So a kid that might be kind of not thick-skinned, sensitive, he's the type of kid they would go after. Yeah. There's actually like 8 major categories of this. Go ahead. Kids with different interests, yeah, but not in the top 8 groups, matter of fact. Major reasons why kids might get bullied. Great. Yeah. Kids' religion. Certain kids. Now, different parts of the country, different religions. But there's clearly one particular group of kids in this country right now that are being persecuted because of their religion. Muslim kids in some of our large cities are a very highly targeted group of kids. Matter of fact, in school sometime, read some of the poems that Muslim girls, Muslim teenagers have written about what life is like in some of our major cities. So religion is one. What else? Bingo. 2 ways of looking at that. If you are new to a school, you are absolutely a target. Okay? If you are new to a country, if you're an immigrant, you are a highly targeted group of kids. Anyone else?
Your appearance.
Your what?
Appearance.
Yeah, appearance. Now I'm going to take that to mean this. He says his appearance, and I'm going to tell this is one of the major groups. Any physical difference about you. If you're too fat, too thin, too tall, too short. If your nose is crooked, if your teeth are bucked. As you guys get a little bit older, if you have pimples. These are things that kids will target. Okay? Matter of fact, the President of the United States, Barack Obama, he got bullied as a kid because his ears were too big. They called him Dumbo. Now, even today, if you watch a cartoon that they make of President Obama, how do they always portray his ears? Don't they make his ears really stick out? Sure. And if I was going to make fun of Donald Trump, what part of him? No, I'm just, this is easy. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, is he? Shh. Okay. But, okay. But you're right. A couple kids said his caricature would be his hair. Yeah, good. Okay, I just want to put these up because I'm looking at time and I don't want to get too tied down with this. Okay? Race, religion, sexual orientation, physical attributes, mental abilities, and national origin. Thank you very much for not laughing when I said sexual orientation. Just so you'll know, in America, the most highly targeted group after Orlando, this might strike home, The most highly targeted group of kids that are bullied in America. Now, when I do this with fourth graders, I just say sexual orientation. I don't say anything else. All right? Because they're fourth graders. You guys are seventh graders. We know for a fact that kids that are gay, lesbian, transgender, bisexual, questioning are the most highly targeted group of kids in America. They get bullied 3 to 4 times more often than any other kids. And as a result of that, they're 3 to 4 times more likely to attempt or commit suicide. And they're 3 to 4 times more likely to have drug and alcohol problems. And now, when I say that, I'm not talking about a kid who's 20. I'm talking about a kid who's 15. You guys are 12, almost 13. We're talking about kids that are only a couple years older than you guys. When you walk into Rentham High School, is it King Philip or Rentham? When you walk into King Philip High School, there will be kids who are gay and lesbian, they're transgender, bisexual, questioning. The way you treat them will determine a lot about not only what kind of person you are, but what kind of future those kids are going to have. Because unfortunately, other than the drug and alcohol problem, they drop out of school at an alarming rate. I'm talking about kids who are smart, kids who have potential. And if life has become scary for them, there were a group of kids from New York City that were openly gay. And we asked them one time, what was life like? And they said it was torture. Well, what do you mean? So we gave them these little clickers, and they kept track of how many times they were either made fun of or threatened in some way. And it was 6 times an hour. 6 times an hour, some more, some less. But 6 times an hour, these kids were either threatened in some way or told. One kid said, I was thrown down a flight of stairs. I was just pushed from behind. Never saw the kid, had no beef with any kid, simply because he was gay. So just so you'll know, they're the most targeted group. The second most targeted group of kids in America is interesting. Kids with disabilities. Sometimes you call them the kids that are on IEPs, But they are the second most targeted group of kids in America. And a lot of it, as they get older, is around relational stuff. They get excluded from groups. They get excluded from getting invited places. Sometimes as they get older, they're not quite good enough to make a certain team, so they get excluded like that. But they also do get physically bullied. I've seen videos of kids in wheelchairs being physically hurt. Down syndrome kids having stuff thrown at them. So they are the second most targeted group of kids in our country. You did pretty good on the rest. Where you're from, your religion, your nationality, your culture. A lot of times kids don't understand other people's cultures. If you are the youngest in a class, usually that's around immaturity. If you're either too rich or too poor for the group of kids that you're with, sometimes that makes a difference, okay? Just so you know. Oh, and the last one there is trauma, which to me is fascinating. Does anyone know what trauma is? You've heard the term, but anyone? Red. Well, yeah, but why? Afraid of abandonment, yeah. Go ahead, do it.
Trauma is basically when something happens to you.
Sure.
When it affects.
Yeah, something you didn't win the lottery. We're talking about somebody who something very bad happened to. If your mom dies, if your little brother got sick and got cancer, if your house burnt down, if your brother was hurt in a bad car accident. All of those things create trauma, anxiety, fear, nervousness inside of us. Bullies will target you. Bullies go after kids who have had trauma in their life. There's a little boy on the South Shore now, he's in the 2nd grade, and he had chemotherapy, so he has no hair. And some of the older boys are making fun of him, calling him rude names and stuff like that. And the kid's just getting over cancer. But that couple of boys didn't see that as being compassionate. They kind of went after him a little bit on that, Kids, I told you some of the things about kids that are targets. This is kind of typical behaviors they have, or characteristics about kids who are victims. Usually they're weaker than their friends. They're not as good in sports as their friends, okay? They're quiet and withdrawn. I think one of the young ladies over there said that. They're anxious, insecure, they have poor self-esteem. These are the kids that if you said to a girl, you look fat in that shirt, you look ugly in that shirt, I can guarantee you if that shirt just came from Hollister and she paid $110 on it, she would take it off, throw it in the bottom of her closet, and never wear it again. I know for a fact. I had a daughter that did that, you know, because some kid was mean about it, you know. One of the things about these kids is they would rather be with adults than their own peers because adults seem to be much more acceptable of them. Those are what we call their passive targets. On the other side, there's what we call aggressive targets. There are certain kids in life who come across as bullies, but they're not. I know you guys all know this. You've known one or two kids like this. They're the kid that sits there, and when kids tease him and tease him and tease him, eventually he gets up and turns the desk over or throws something in the class, and he's the kid that gets in trouble. We all know a kid that that's happened to? Yeah. He's not a bully. He's what we call an aggressive target. He's been prodded by other kids to act that way. And usually he's the kid who gets in trouble. So these are kind of like the kids that it happens to. They have irritating habits a lot of times. They're immature. These are all the kind of the traits of the kids that are victims of bullies, okay? We know for a fact that they're absent at a much higher rate, okay? They consider suicide, attempt suicide. What happens to a kid who is bullied, if you think about it, how many kids here have ever stood on a foul line, taken a shot? If it goes in, you win. If you miss it, you lose. Okay? Good. Put your hands down. Are there any kids here that have stood at home plate with the bat in their hand, bases loaded, 2 outs? If you get a hit, you win. If you strike out or make an out, you lose. Any kids ever do that? Good. Put your hands down. Are there any kids here that have stood on a stage and we're going to sing or dance in front of a whole bunch of people? Good? All right. Put your hands down. What's the feeling you get in your stomach when that event takes place? Excitement. You just get excited? Yeah. That's it? Good for you. What else you get? You call it butterflies. Yeah. What do your hands feel like? What do your hands feel like? They're sweaty. All right? What do your knees feel like? I think I'd want this kid batting. I don't know him, but I think I'd want him hitting. What do your knees usually feel like? Sure. Sometimes they feel like they weigh 20 pounds, you know? And as you get older, your armpits are going to sweat wicked, you know? But guess what, kids? When you guys have that feeling, it goes away like that. Because if you get a hit, everyone loves you. If you make it out, they say, hey, don't worry, you tried. You know? If you miss the foul shot, your parents still love you. Even if you sing and you stink, your parents are going to say, hey, you were wonderful. Here's the flowers, you know? But for kids who are bullied, that's not the case. Kids that are bullied wake up in the morning with the trembling hands, with the shaky knees, with their stomachs in knots, and they say to themselves, I got to do it again today. Today is just going to be another awful day. Girls will look in the mirror, get dressed, change that shirt 5 times, and they'll actually say, what are they going to make fun of today? There are boys that know there's a kid waiting to beat the snot out of him, and he walks into school, he says, how can I avoid it? So usually kids who are bullied, the way they do avoid it are different ways. They go to school late, if they go to school. They go to school really early, before the crowd gets there, and they find a place to hide until the teacher gets there, and they know they're safe again. That's no way to go through life. There's no way to go through life, you know? You know how they get home? They get home the longest way they possibly can. They never walk in a straight line. They'll take the long way, and they'll cut over backyards just to avoid whoever's after them. You know, what we know about kids who are bullied are a few things. Number one, they skip school at an alarming rate. They will hide. One of the big things is they'll quit doing the things they love. Kids that get bullied will quit doing the things they love. I mean, I'm talking about a kid that gets bullied in school will stop doing Xbox. Kids who love to play soccer, they're getting bullied at school, it has nothing to do with the soccer field, and they'll quit playing soccer. Oh, by the way, just so you'll know, kids who play sports or belong to other organizations, how many kids here actually play on a team sport? Somehow I knew. Okay, just so you'll know, kids who play on organized team sports are much less likely to ever act as a bully and less likely to ever bully other kids. Anyone have an idea of why? Yeah, you get the idea that every person belongs, that you need everybody. Do the Patriots need 12 Tom Bradys? No, they need one Tom Brady and a bunch of big fat guys to make sure he doesn't get hurt, right? Yeah, I mean, it's as simple as that, you know? So we find out when you play on a team, we do kind of realize that everybody has their role, okay? So this is what we know to happen to kids that do get bullied, okay? These are all of the things. Oh, by the way, now you guys are getting a little older. How many kids here have younger brothers or sisters, younger brothers or sisters? Okay, how many of them are like in the 3rd and 4th grade starting out now? Okay, good. So just, real quick, so this is something that would apply to them. So kind of keep an eye on them, because one of the things that we do know, if your little brothers or sisters start saying, I don't want to go to school, my stomach hurts, they're not finishing their homework, they're not eating their supper, they're not sleeping at night, those are all telltale signs of younger kids who are getting bullied. If they start missing their possessions, jackets and hats, if their book bags look like they've been rifled through, in other words, emptied on the ground and they're all dirty, those are all signs of a younger kid may be getting bullied. So if you see that happening with one of your younger brothers or sisters, make your parents aware of it, just so they know, okay? Just one of those things. Because you guys seem like you're a pretty confident group of kids, and we do pretty good with this stuff. Okay, we're in good shape here. I know a girl had her hand up, and what I would like to do, I want to go back to this. If I want to finish up, and then we'll have time for questions, I think. Okay, so we've talked about bullying, we've talked about victims, we've talked about bullies. Now I want to talk about the third party, the most important part, are the bystanders. When I asked you guys if you had ever seen a bullying situation, I didn't say to you, did you help out? And the reason I didn't is because we know for a fact that most kids, when they see a bullying situation, they do not help. Anyone know why? They're afraid the bully will turn on them. All right, can I tell you something? If we were playing Family Feud and I was Steve Harvey and I said, show me the number one answer, that's the number one answer. The number one answer why kids do not help in a bullying situation is they are afraid the bully will turn on them. But there are other reasons. What else?
I hear a lot of that, but also there's always that fear, what if the person you think is the victim actually, it is a joke to them? Then
Sure.
You'll be hey, stop bullying them. They'll be
Yeah, the situation. Trying to figure out what is the situation, how to read it. Is it actually bullying? Good. Anyone else? Okay, good. I want to show you. The main reasons we know. There's one up there that I'm glad you didn't get. I wish you had gotten a few more. But there's one up there that I'm very, very happy nobody said. Anyone know which one that would be? That's an interesting one. Not the one I'm thinking of, but I do want to talk about that one. Go ahead. Hey, Red coming through for me big time here. Go ahead. No. No.
Fear of being a tattletale?
Bingo. I'm glad no one said that. Can I tell you something? I've been doing this for a long time now, like Boston versus Bullies for 5 years, but before that other stuff. Every time I went to a school, kids would always say, they would say, I don't want to get bullied, and number two is, I don't want to be called a snitch. I never hear that anymore. So I'm saying to myself, why is that? And I think I know the answer. I think I know the answer is because you kids are a lot smarter about bullying than you were 5 years ago. It's been drummed into you enough. You're hearing it from your teachers, you're hearing it from your parents, and you know that it's not snitching. The difference, when you snitch on somebody, you just want to get them in trouble. But when you tell on somebody, you're trying to help a situation. And I got to tell you, as life goes on, you guys are going to have to do more telling on kids you like. There are kids that you have known since kindergarten that very soon in life will start doing unsafe, dangerous things. Whether it's smoking cigarettes, smoking marijuana, drinking alcohol, skipping school, or just doing stupid stuff. And if you really like these kids, these will be kids you've known your whole life, kids you've probably played sports with, but they just start taking that different track. And if you want to help those kids, you might have to tell somebody that they're doing stupid stuff, okay? So I'm glad you didn't do that. But we do find out that kids they feel that later on down the line, it could come back to haunt them. Somebody here said that about the thing about teachers, and I'm glad you didn't say that one. I've actually taken that one off my list. Kids used to say that one all the time. They never say that anymore about teachers, because I think teachers have really got on board, and they know what to do. They know they're mandated reporters, and they're a lot better about it, you know. And then the last one, the disbursement of responsibility. Most kids will think it's not my job. Somebody else will do it. We don't need me to do it, okay? So that's one of the reasons why we don't do that. Okay? Typical bystander reaction, what they'll say, the bully's my friend. Isn't that unbelievable? I mean, here's what we know about bullies. We know they're angry. A lot of times they come from very troubled homes. A lot of times they have been bullied themselves, you know. But a lot of kids will relate to them. Most kids will say they're more like the bully than they are like the victim, okay? Not my problem, not my fight. The target's not my friend. The target's a loser. He deserves to be bullied. Does anyone ever in life deserve to be bullied? No. And one of the last ones here that I hear, when I do this with sometimes adult fathers will say this, it'll toughen him up. I tell my son to go back out there and beat him up. Well, if he couldn't beat him up 15 minutes ago, he's not going to be able to do it now. And I just think that sometimes that happens, and it'll never, ever, ever toughen a kid up. If a kid gets bullied and he's thrown into a situation like that, it'll just make him more isolated, more alone, more nervous, okay? Just so you'll know, this is what we know. Peers were involved in some capacity in 85% of bullying episodes. Peers reinforced the bullying in 81% of the episodes. So that's 4 out of 5. Just so we'll know. Can you stand up one more time? Sure. If I bully him, okay? If I bully him, am I going to do it in the middle of the woods when there's no one there? No. I'm going to do it somewhere where all my friends can see it. I have to have an audience. I have to be the center of attention. Simple as that. And if he dares, hits me back, what would happen then is my posse, my 4 out of my 5 friends that are standing there would say to me, are you going to take that from him? Are you going to let him get away with that? And my response would have to be what? No. Not in a million years. And then he would get hurt even worse. And not only that, we know for a fact that my 5 friends that are sitting there watching, 4 out of the 5 will join in. Even if I'm doing a good job all by myself of beating him up, 4 out of the 5 kids that are with me will help me beat him up. Good. Same with girls. Girls, we always tell girls all the time that if some girl is saying mean things, texting on you, she's good at it. She's better at doing that than you are at taking it. So even if you think you have 1 or 2 comments that would be really digging and cutting and you think they'd come across as funny and hurtful, she's got 25. And when she's done with you, her friends are going to jump in and start saying mean things too. So we never, ever, ever want you to continue that, okay? You know, I do want to kind of finish up, okay, when we talk about what you can do in bullying situations, okay? I have a few more minutes. And there's actually 2 things you can do. You can either directly involve yourself or indirectly involve yourself, okay? You can directly involve yourself in a very, very simple way. Number 1, you can help the kid that's being bullied to walk away, okay? So if you see a bullying situation, you can very easily walk up to the kid that's being bullied, turn your back on the bully, don't even face the bully, and just take that kid and say, come on with us. Just walk away. The bully can't get mad at you because you didn't say anything to her, you didn't talk to her in any way. You just look at that kid and move her away. The second thing you can do, okay, is you can convince the bully to walk away. Kids, as you get older, this becomes more important. As you get older, your social life and your behavior are going to become much more entwined. The more you play sports and the more social you be, you have to act better. You can't get in fights anymore. You can't get suspended from school anymore. Okay? So if you're a kid who's a bully and you act and get in fights and you get suspended, especially when you get into high school, that sort of stuff goes on your record. Does everyone know about that? Yeah. Okay. Just real quick, when you get into high school, you have a permanent record. And that record stays with you until you get into college. All right? Simple as that. So if you get suspended, you're not going to get to play sports. You're going to get kicked off teams. Coaches aren't going to want to put up with you. How many kids here want to play a high school sport? Bingo. Well, here's a news flash, kids, just so you'll know. Your soccer coach, your 9th grade soccer coach, your 9th grade football coach, your 9th grade hockey coach, your 9th grade basketball coach is also a 9th grade teacher at King Philip. The teachers are the ones who coach. So if you act like a nitwit, that's a scientific term, I think. If you act like a knucklehead in math class, the math teacher is going to say to the soccer coach, don't let him play today. And the math teacher, they're going to go along with the teacher. They're not going to go along with you. Simple as that. If you get suspended once you get into high school, so you'll know, how many kids here want to go to college? Okay, God bless you all. Just so you'll know, when you apply to college, and I know it's years off, but there's an application you fill out. And on this application, it's called the Common Application, on page 2, 1/3 of the way down, there's a question that it asks. Have you ever been suspended from school? They ask you that when you're going to go to college. So you have to tell the truth because they ask your guidance counselor the same question. You know? So if you say yes, you know what they ask you? Why? And then you have to tell them why. And if you tell them you're violent, they're not going to like you. You know? So those are just things to think about when we talk about, so if you're a bystander in a bullying situation, you are really helping the bully to walk away. You just turn to that bully and say, don't do that, you're going to get in trouble. We need you to play in a game. We need you to be part of this. Okay? Simple like that, you know? And those two methods of doing it don't take much because you're not going to pick a fight with the bully. All you're doing is moving the kid away or moving the other kid away. Okay? Now, you want to tell you one more thing and then I'll stop because you guys, I got to tell you, you are a fabulous audience. This, I think, is maybe like, I've spoken to a couple of bigger crowds, but boy, you guys, for late in the day, it's hot, you guys are awesome. You know, you're a real, you're a credit to your family and your schools when you do stuff like that. Your kids are wonderful, wonderful, wonderful group of kids. I just want to finish up by saying, if, after everything we've said, if you do just think you're too nervous to actually physically go up and do something like that, you can help out in what we call the indirect way. And the indirect way would be this. If you saw him get bullied and you didn't intervene, but a half hour later you could walk up to him and very simply say this, hey, I'm sorry that happened to you. You're a nice kid and it shouldn't have happened to you. Or if he, let's say in a case of a kid didn't get to play in a game, hey, tomorrow I'll make sure you get picked on my team. Girls, or even guys, why don't you sit and eat lunch with us tomorrow? Just a simple thing like that that makes a kid feel welcome. Simple as that. So let me ask, I hope you learned a couple of things that you didn't know, okay? And I think that if it reinforced what you already know, kind of keep an eye on your little brothers and sisters, because you are your brothers and sisters' keeper, okay? So as you go through this thing, any questions or comments or witty rejoinders? Go ahead.
So my cousin, she played on the soccer team like in 8th grade, and a lot of girls on the team were really good and stuff. So she decided to go with field hockey, and now she really loves it.
She really likes it now? Yeah, I got to tell you something, that's an interesting thing. But I'm not against I tell parents, if your kid is with a group of kids who they don't get along with her, move, find new friends. There's lots of kids out there that you don't have to hang around with the same kids you hung around with since you were a little kid. As you get older, you're going to have different interests. You might play 3 sports now, and one you're really, really good at. Well, with the one that you're really, really good at, if you want to keep playing that, you might have to skip the other as you get older, and that happens sometimes. Or you might want to be in the play or the musical or band or anything like that takes up a lot of time too. Any other questions? Okay, go ahead. I have never dealt with that. I know it does exist, but it's very few and far between. You know, there's always going to be instances of things. It's to teach kids how to navigate through these murky waters, I think, is what we try to do. You know? Okay, I'm going to say, I never say goodbye. I always say I'll see you down the road, because I'm sure somewhere along the line I'll hook up with you guys, I'll find you guys. And if you ever do have a problem, I do have a, I know. If you go online, you look up Boston versus Bullies, you can call that number and they will get in touch with me, and I can help you out. But I think you guys were a great, great group, and I thank you very much. Have a good day. Thank you.